The hallway echoed with silence after the words were said. Cold, sharp, and meant to cut. It wasn't the scalpel that drew blood that day. It was the surgeon's voice, and the entire OR froze, stunned, as Nurse Evelyn stood motionless, eyes wide, face pale, lips trembling but silent. No one moved, no one spoke. But the shame hung heavier than the surgical lights overhead, and by the next morning, no one could have predicted what was coming. Evelyn Moore had always been the quiet one, reliable, gentle, the kind of nurse who remembered every patient's name, even when the family forgot. She worked the longest hours, skipped lunches so a mother could rest, took double shifts when the floor was short, but her kindness came wrapped in silence. She never raised her voice, never defended herself, not even after her husband left, not even when cancer took her sister, and grief hollowed her eyes. She just kept showing up, hair tied tight, shoes scrubbed clean, and heart always wide open. But some saw her quiet as weakness, and one of them wore a white coat. Dr. Callan Whitmore was brilliant, a heart surgeon with hands like poetry, and a resume that boasted Harvard, Johns Hopkins, and a TED Talk gone viral. But brilliance doesn't always mean kindness. To him, the OR was his stage, and anyone else? Just extras in the background, so when Evelyn quietly corrected a dosage error mid-procedure, a mistake that could have cost a life, he didn't thank her. He exploded. "You dare correct me in front of my team?" his voice thundered. The techs looked away. The anesthesiologist pretended to read the chart. And Evelyn, she simply lowered her eyes and whispered, "I'm sorry." Though she'd just saved someone's father, someone's husband, she apologized. The surgery continued. But something broke that day, something you couldn't see in a scan. That night, Evelyn didn't sleep. She sat alone at her kitchen table staring at her trembling hands. She'd seen humiliation before, but never like this, never so public, never so cruel. The next morning, the hospital buzzed as usual. Doctors charting, patients pacing, monitors beeping. Evelyn arrived at 6:02 a.m., as she always did. But something was off. Eyes followed her. Whispers chased her down the corridor. She reached her locker and froze. Taped to the door was a single sheet of paper, typed in bold. No title, no signature. Just a quote. "Courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it." Nelson Mandela. She peeled it off, confused. Then she turned, and what she saw made her breath catch in her throat. Every nurse in the unit was standing behind her. Every single one in uniform, in silence, and each one wore the same quote pinned to their chest. A quiet protest. A united front. They didn't raise their voices. They didn't call a meeting. They stood, with Evelyn, with dignity, and one by one others joined. Respiratory therapists, orderlies, techs, even the cafeteria manager taped the quote above the register. By noon, the walls of the hospital pulsed with quiet resistance. A ripple of strength no scalpel could cut through. And Dr. Whitmore? He walked through the corridor like a ghost in his own kingdom. Unspoken eyes met his. Not with anger, not with hate, but with truth. Unmistakable. And when he stepped into the OR that afternoon, he found Evelyn already scrubbed in, waiting. He paused, swallowed hard. Then whispered the words no one had ever heard from him. "Thank you, Nurse Moore. I was wrong." It wasn't a dramatic apology. There were no cameras, no headlines, but it was real, and it changed him. Slowly, he began to listen more, ask instead of demand, and, "Evelyn?" She never raised her voice. She never sought revenge, but her strength, her quiet strength, echoed louder than any reprimand ever could, because courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it stands silently and lets the world shift around it. Sometimes the strongest stand is the quiet one. Sometimes the most powerful protest doesn't need noise, just unity. If this story moved something in you, don't just scroll past, share it, because someone out there needs a reminder that kindness can be courageous, and silence, when filled with truth, can shake even the proudest walls. Subscribe if you believe the world needs more moments like this. Be the reason someone still believes in goodness. Start today.